Oh, hello there. Yes, my name is Benjamin Gray. I'm well known to Bristol Post. I've been involved in quite a lot of cases in criminal and civil courts. There's a current matter related to my allegedly assaulting several emergency workers slash CID work officers in the entrance to Bristol Crown Court whilst allegedly under arrest for alleged breach of the peace, and I, of course, claiming that I was kidnapped. It's quite a high-profile case. I'm involved in civil proceedings with Avon and Somerset Police to the tune of many hundreds of thousands of pounds. I'm constantly in the criminal courts. Early on in the sort of last half a decade or so, the Bristol Post used to be interested in my cases, and they've seemed to have completely lost interest. Notwithstanding, there are millions now, millions of pounds of taxpayers' money are going into these cases in Bristol, um, and yet you don't seem to want to take any interest at all. This matter will be canvassed, and I suggest that this case, currently at Gloucester Crown Court, I think is listed for the first hearing on the 10th of, or a case management hearing on the 10th of October, and then it's supposedly listed for trial on the 17th of October at the end of this year. And I'm trying to find out why you're not interested in these cases. And of course, I'll be making very strong allegations about collusion against Bristol Post if they continue to not take an interest. I know in particular Jeff Bennett is certainly guilty of repeated cover-ups of these kind of cases. There's even ITV witness supposedly in the case who, again, ITV aren't interested in this case or anything surrounding my cases, and that there's something deeply wrong with that. This is in the public interest that you're reporting cases of this nature, especially when I'm constantly being acquitted or found guilty sorry, the Avon and Somerset police are found guilty of falsely imprisoning me on numerous occasions. How can that not be in the public interest? You're supposed to be holding power to account, not the grovelling servants of power. You should take the case on its merits and not who has the biggest stick. And obviously, those representations are more made to the Bristol public as well as to the courts. And of course, I'm alleging this case is a further step to try and silence me, as though we're now living in some Iraqi regime in the 1970s. So I look forward to any contact from you. You've got my telephone number. My email address is also known to you, but I'll give it to you again. It's benjgray, Gray, at hotmail.co.uk. So please drop us a line and explain to me why you're not interested. I will be sending you some documents related to the proceedings in October, which you can respond to, and I may consider asking the court to summons your editor or your former editor, Mike Norton, as well as Mr. Jeff Bennett, uh, because I've got clear evidence that you are the mouthpieces of the most corrupt, violent, and disgusting police officers I'm sure to ever grace a uniform or disgrace a uniform in this country for many decades. But anyway, I look forward to any response to what I have to say. But of course, I think if you bother to turn up to any of the hearings before the High Court judges concerning civil restraint orders to prevent me litigating the police and the courts and others, you will notice you would have paid attention to what Mr. Justice Stuart Smith said in 2019, which he said Mr. Gray isn't going anywhere when he set aside the general civil restraint order to allow me to continue to litigate briefly. There were 8 cases that flowed from that, which of course the Bristol Post were interested in. But when at that hearing, Judge said I'm not going anywhere, so bear that in mind. Oh, hi, is that Ben? Oh, yeah, hi, this is also Ben. Um, I didn't get your surname, sorry. Ben Wright. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of me. My name is Benjamin Gray, Gray. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of me. My name is Benjamin Gray, Gray.
I haven't, no. What are you calling about, Ben?
Well, I'm involved in a huge number of cases in the Bristol courts involving many sort of acquittals and civil cases where I'm accusing the police of very serious criminal wrongdoing. It's cost the taxpayer quite a few millions by now, and I'm just concerned that
Yeah.
your paper isn't taking an interest. There's a case, for instance, in October that surrounds about an altercation between myself and CID officers and a security guard at Bristol Crown Court. Lots of people present, lots of filming of it. ITV witness in the journalist who was witness to some of the incident, but no one turns up to the court proceedings. No one reports any of the cases. You used to take quite a lot of interest in my cases. I've got quite a lot of back backlogs to where you've reported me, for instance, have been CS sprayed in Bristol Magistrates Court on the 1st of June 10. You said that I'd assaulted several security guards. I was acquitted. I was found to have been the victim of that. You didn't print that, but you did print the one about the allegation as fact.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if I can sort of prevail upon you. You're supposed to be working for the public interest, for the local Bristolians, and if I'm involved in these cases that are costing millions, where serious, I've just been found to have been the victim of false imprisonment at Wandsworth, of all places, by the Ministry of Justice. Why are you not taking any interest in how you respond to any of that?
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd say is we are a tiny, tiny team. You know, we've got three people currently in our editorial team, so to try and cover everything that happens on Bristol is hugely challenging, as you may appreciate. Our editor is currently off on sabbatical, which may have something to do with it.
Oh, but I know I'm talking about the
But
last 15. Sorry to interrupt, Ben, but let's be let's talk sensible here. I'm well known to the establishment. I'm constantly in cases that go nowhere, that I've been acquitted or no case to answer. These aren't. I'm not a run of the mill. I defend myself in all cases, or represent myself when I'm litigating the police. I'm not somebody that's just a run of the mill burglar, or even petty offender or sex offender, or something that's just run of the mill and drab, and that there are thousands of every day. I'm a very particular case. I'm somebody that represents themselves and wins case after case after case, including very serious allegations of false imprisonment and assault. I mean, unless we live in Nicaragua, I'm sure that you're not inundated with endless cases of police finding the same person over and over again, being found to have falsely imprisoned me or bringing illegal prosecutions against me. Um, and as I say, you were printing some of the stories. You printed some parts of some versions of proceedings, quite a lot in 2010 to 2000, sort of between 2008 2012. But the more cases I win and the more damning findings that are produced from the courts,
we went around in 2008, 2012.
you're the Bristol Post, aren't you?
Sorry?
You're the Bristol Post, aren't you? Am I talking to the wrong
No,
people?
no, no, we're Bristol 24/7.
Oh, I do beg your pardon on that score then. So I apologise. I thought that I don't know where I got the Bristol Post.
Yeah, it does happen. We do get that bit for some reason. But no, we're a small, independent, local media company. We don't have any of the resources that Reach Media do. So, we cover what we can with our tiny, tiny editorial team.
No, that's fair enough. No, I mean that's probably why you haven't heard of me and why you've spoken to me for as long as you have.
The other reason I'm being fair to you and that is that I'm not on the editorial team. I'm the managing director, so I don't deal with that side of things. What I would say is we have our ear taken with good stories, and it sounds like you've probably got one. So if you haven't got our editorial here,
Mm,
it's worth me giving it to you.
yeah. Well, if you give me an email address and somebody, it preferably with a name, but any sort of email address, because I'll send you some links which would help validate what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I'm not the best person to listen to, but if you're able to take down a couple of email addresses,
No, yeah, no, that's what I understood to be the case. You were going to give me some email addresses for other
yeah,
people.
sure. So our editor is Martin Booth. It's Martin at Bristol247.com.
Yeah.
But as I say, he is actually currently off on sabbatical for a couple of weeks.
Couple more
So,
weeks. Okay. Uh,
and then our deputy editor is Ellie, and she's just Ellie, Ellie.
Sorry, hang on. Yeah, sorry, my computer's gone a bit funny. Leell. Yeah. At 24 at Bristol. All lowercase, is it? Well, I might as well just. I mean, it'll just keep it simple. If Ellie's around at the moment, she's not on holiday, right? Yeah. Hang on, I keep mucking up the email address. Is it Bristol 247 or 247 Bristol? Okay, so yeah, okay, yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I mean, as I say, if I don't have a response, I'll chase you up just to find out what your formal line is, because I am really concerned that people just look at me as too much trouble that I'm worth, and aren't willing. They're so scared of the courts, and they're so scared of the police and the establishment here in Bristol, and it's a very close knit community. I don't know about. Sorry, what do you cap? But sorry, you interrupted me, so I'll interrupt you. What do you? Are you saying that because you're such a limited capacity, if I give you some extreme example, if I had evidence of a huge gas leak and a potential that a whole Bristol was going to blow up, you would say that's too small, and the police were covering it up, or something of that gargantuan nature, and the other press, would you ignore that just because there's only a small team? I mean, surely what you want to do is have a bigger team by having scoops and having stories that concern the public. Listen to you. I'm recording this. Ben, this is going online. I'm putting this online now. Listen to you. I'm putting this online. I'm putting this call online with your name attached. All right? Are you aware of that on YouTube? You see that? Hello, Mr. Nicholson. You're speaking to me again now, are you? Are you Ben Nicholson?
No, I'm Ben Wright.
Oh, Ben Wright. You did tell me that, actually, didn't you?
I did, yeah, Ben Wright. Ben Wright's my name. Hi, Ben. What can I do for you?
Well, you hung up on me just a moment ago, so I'm just.
Yeah. Well, I did explain how to go to take another call. We're going to press on that police. It's a big project today, so yeah, sorry, I just had to get it.
Well,
I've given you the email address for the editorial team. I don't interfere with editorial decisions. It's the editorial team deciding what to cover, and that's our, down to us independent as a media company. If you send us the details, that's really the best I can do for you, Ben. So
Well,
I'm sure it may well be something of interest, but I don't make that
well,
decision.
yeah, but if you're inviting people to call you with a new story, could you let me finish, please? It's not right that you allow me to speak. It's not right. It's not right that I allow you to speak and that you don't allow me to speak. That's not a humane and human conversational way to go forward. It's very dictatorial and authoritarian. Just allow me to respond, then I can hang up and we can part amicably. I assume that's why you're still talking to me, because you want to remain amicable. My point is simply this: that you were trying to discourage me from pursuing it. You're emphasizing the fact you're a very small organization, and then you're hanging up on me very abruptly. Whereas what you could have just said, I can call you, but we can chat about it in 2 minutes if you want to continue, or something of that nature, not just hang up on me. That's very rude for somebody that's got wants to liaise with you about your professional business anyway. I'm happy to contact these people still if you think that it's worth my while, but you seem to be very discouraging of my doing that. Yeah, no, I accepted that. I was dealing with us as an unknown entity then. I wasn't lumping you in with Bristol Post. I was starting afresh and just laying out selling my case, as it were. If there's any honestly, I'll just say this last bit and then I'll send the emails to your colleagues. But if there's any evidence of the nature I'm talking about and a general cover up, All that matters is the evidence. What the point of trying to grab hold of a big story, and you can't be that small because you're all over the internet. Now I put your name up. How on earth could you? It's the level and the veracity of the story, because otherwise you won't. What is the point of small? I thought that the reason or the way that papers sell their products is to have big scoops and big stories, and the bigger the better. And often it's the small organisations that pick up on it because the others are more establishment and tend to, cover each other's backs, especially in the courts and politics. So surely you want to encourage any potential story that would put you on the map and make you more established. If I was talking about some mundane case, or some run-of-the-mill kind of court case or anything else, that's fine. But I certainly sold it pretty convincingly, if my record is correct in terms of the amount of cases that and the amount of money that's being taken out. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating when I'm talking about millions of pounds in litigation, in open proceedings involving high court judges and so forth, of taxpayers' money, let alone the sort of abuse I'm talking about. But thanks for hearing me out. If you just go onto Bristol Post, if you've got the time, if you go on YouTube, log into, if you tap in Bristol Post, Bristol Spotlight rather, not Bristol Post, Bristol Spotlight, or Ben Gray Police, sort of a combination of those kind of words, you will immediately go to loads of these kind of the violence that I'm talking about, and the level of violence in which I'm alleging that people at Bristol Post are in, which was why it was fortuitous that I was you're not related to them and don't know anything about me, which is not the case with Bristol Post. Is that a fair point to make? No, but you're so discouraging. You're now you're so dismissive. If I'm talking about something minor. What? So you don't even respond to some sort of information of somebody being mistreated at the hands of the state. You don't even respond to that on a human level. So if I just rang up because I got the wrong number and told you my leg had been blown off, you don't say, I'm sorry to hear that, or I hope there isn't any truth, or I'd be concerned about it myself. The whole point of a newspaper is that you're getting the interest of other members of the public. You don't have the whole armies of human beings saying we're not interested because we're not part of the newspaper, or I'm not a journalist. That's the whole point of journalism. No, you are. You put me right off, but let me just point out, I'm going to put this conversation online. I've recorded it, and I'm now going to put Ben Wright colludes in, and anybody can make of it what they will. You are not responding as a journalist should be responding to these kind of complaints. You should be knocking at my door, because I'm going to be knocking on your door, mate. Huh? No, you sound like a robot. You sound like a robot. You should be interested yourself. Just because it's not your bailiwick, you are a journalist. You're advertising that are you a journalist yourself? No, I'm not. No. You have no. So what is your connection to 24/7 then? I'm the managing director. But there's three of you involved in a journal. You are an online journal, aren't you? Yeah, so we're a media company. What media as in stories? Because surely stories like what goes on in the courts and so forth. Yeah, so if you're part of one of three, and you're saying it's not what you're saying, you're not involved in journalism at all. But why is your name? Why is this number online for the Newsdesk? If you go online, if you Google, because I put the mistake that the original information I got was for Newsdesk 420 Bristol 24/7. Ring the number that I've rung, which is you. No, it's not. It's you ring through to the office, and that office gives all of the contact details of all of my journalists, of which I am not one. And then if in an emergency, you can contact me. And yeah. Therefore, I put my mobile number. I must say that following this call, I'm starting to wonder whether that was a good decision or not. Well, because people might ring up with stories of major abuse of the courts and power and the police, which they can provide evidence for. But all of the contact information to provide that to is on our answer message, which is where you got the number. But my point is, you've discouraged me by your own personal contact. Oh, extremely aggressive. Well, go online. That's what I'm complaining about police are doing to me. Obviously, I'm going to be aggressive. You're going to cover it up. I'm going to be more than aggressive. I'm on trial for punching CID. I'm on trial for punching CID, you blithering idiot. So either you're in cahoots with that, in which case I will be aggressive to people that are in cahoots with that kind of violence, or I'll wipe the floor with you in the courts, aggressively. Sorry? I beg your pardon? Constantly talking over me, listen to you, constantly talking over me, constantly making provocative comments, accusing me. There's passive aggressism. Listen to you talking over me. Listen to you talking over me continuously. Yeah. So what have you got to say about my being aggressive? How have I been aggressive? Am I not allowed to be aggressive if I'm complaining that newspapers are colluding in my being kidnapped and tortured by the police and falsely imprisoned? I didn't want the sympathy. I want your interest to show the public. I'm not interested about me. I'm not interested about me. Sorry? It's not about me. It's about public justice. That is any concern where there's abuse of power in the courts or in any part of the establishment. That is, everybody is the victim. I'm not just ringing about me. I'm also ringing about the victims of children that have been involved in some of this violence, which I've got video evidence to prove. I'm also concerned about the Bristol public. I mean, I did start the story. You see, you're not interested in what I have to say. I'm the one with the story, not you. But yet it's all about your voice. It's not great. It's a terrible. You're a corrupt little. You're a petty little crony. Sorry? Send what? No, I'm going to put this conversation online. I'm going to put Ben Wright is a son as whatever I'm going to say when I've got the time to calm down and think about it. Ben Wright, and that's going to be on YouTube. And every time somebody puts your name on YouTube, that's going to be who you are. I'm giving you a chance to speak to that now, but you're not allowing me to get to the point. You think it's all about personal. I've just told you. I told you at the beginning when I first spoke to you that millions of pounds of taxpayers' money are going into the proceedings. They're paying for the proceedings. Don't you think they have a right to know about them, especially if I'm making allegations of serious misconduct that other newspapers are not interested in? It's not about me and you doing me a favour. It's not favours for favours in gang world. It's about the Bristol public and their interest and the interest of the British public. No, but look at the way you're doing it. Look at the way you've done it. You've virtually given me a heart attack. I'm nearly 60, and you've worked me up into a complete lather about hanging up on me and constantly talking over me and accusing me of being aggressive, as though now you're the victim. I mean, you know, do you now consider yourself the victim because I've rung your phone number with a story that is on the number attached to Newsdesk? But I did that. Well, I'm gonna. Why should? Why? You feel that's a threat? You feel that my putting this phone call online is a threat? Do you? Because you've done something wrong in this phone call. I'm giving you the chance to respond to it now. I'm giving you a right of response. I'm giving you a right of response now. That is your response is to take out of context the whole conversation and you hanging up on me and all the other things you've done. You're saying that all you could do is automatically say, what have you done? Well, as I say, you've already hung up on me. You told me, you've made it clear, you repeated about 3 times during the first conversation that you're a very small organisation. You're making it quite clear that you're unlikely to be interested in this kind of story. And you're making it very clear that you've heard it all before.
I explained that might be the reason we weren't able to cover you, because we have a very small team, a very small editorial team that may not be able.
And you don't think that's off-putting? You don't think that's off-putting? You don't think that's off-putting? And if you're not interested on any level, because my point was you weren't even interested. Sorry, no, but I'm talking about your own personal conduct putting me off. If you're one of 3, you're not somebody I'm clearly can complain about within my story. You see, listen to you, cutting straight in with half a sentence of me speaking. You ask me a question, I try and answer it, and then you cut straight in. You're trying to start a hostile situation. Is that any way to treat any potential victim of any kind of wrongdoing? Is it any wonder that children are being raped from the north of England to the south institutionally raped with the Rotherham and all those stories. Why weren't those girls able to pick up a phone and speak to some small organisation like you if the big newspapers weren't interested in? Because they get this kind of treatment. I'm a big 57-year-old. You think some 14-year-old victim of rape or by the police, and that goes on, believe you me, is that they're going to be intimidated. If I'm scared off, if I'm put off by calling people like you with my version, and you're making it quite clear you're not interested, and you speak like all the other establishment journalism, and that's why people, the outrages that went on with Savile, outrages that went on with Rotherham, and on and on and on and on it goes. And that's your job. At the end of the day, if the police aren't doing it, if the lawyers and the courts aren't doing it, you should be doing it as a journalist. Do you not agree with anything I've just said?
I'm not sure how many more times I can say. I'm not giving you the contact for those that aren't.
You represent the Newsdesk. You're the number that you gave me. So my point is, you're not interested. I'm not talking to whether or not you can robotically recite the email addresses of your colleagues. I'm talking about the robotic. Sorry. I'm listening. I'm willing to listen to you if you just allow me to stop speaking for a moment so I can hear what you're saying. What are you saying? Go on. I'm recording you now. So say. Yes, oh, come on, I apologise for that. I apologise for that because I thought you were Bristol Post. But that's you. Yeah, go on.
Why we weren't covering the stories anymore. I told you that may be because we're a very small team and we're only able to cover a very small amount of stuff.
No.
Bristol, and you
no.
then confirmed you actually thought we were the Bristol Post.
No, yeah.
I asked you the contact details of all of the journalists who might be able to help get your story out there, which is the only way to contact
right.
them.
Great.
Yeah. My phone number is only on there for emergency.
Yep.
We don't have the Newsdesk because we're a very small organisation.
You've explained all that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Contact our journalists.
Yeah.
The emails I gave you.
Right.
Since then, I've been trying to field a large amount of aggressive behaviour and abuse from you.
You see.
When I'm trying to do my job and get magazine off the press.
Can I respond to that in a civilised way? Just I'll give you one more. I'll speak for one more minute and then we'll leave it at that. As I say, I'll decide whether to put it online, and it's up to you how you respond to that. But my point is, you're absolutely right. How it went in 3 stages. First of all, I totally misunderstood. I thought you were Bristol Post, and I was complaining. Once I was established of that, I apologised. Did I not apologise in a perfectly civil fashion? You then gave me some addresses. I was very glad that you were taking some interested. And then, for reasons known only to yourself, you gave me the impression that you were unlikely to be interested in. First of all, you say it's nothing to do with you, it's to do with your colleagues. Why on earth did you do that? Because you're belittling the substance of my allegations, the seriousness of it. And you're effectively saying if I've got, can I just finish? Because the point is about criminal misconduct. That's the essence of my allegations. There is a criminal offence in this country called misconduct in judicial or public office. That means any judge, any solicitor, or any journalist can be guilty of that kind of offence. That kind of allegation, that kind of charge is the most heinous. You would have a duty independently, if you believed, or your colleagues, to report any evidence of that. Or take whatever steps are necessary to address any criminal misconduct from those in power. So the onus is on including individuals, not simply journalists, but individual people. That is how the laws get changed and things get addressed. And you're blocking me off by saying even if there is evidence of some major criminality, the heart of Bristol establishment with names and evidence that we can prove it, we're probably not going to take an interest because because we don't have enough. Because we're too busy with other stories. We get so many, and you talked about having lots of other stories as though people are ringing up all the time complaining of being kidnapped and tortured by the police and other serious allegations of misconduct against people in high office. And if that is the case, if you're inundated with those kind of complaints and you're too busy and you are reporting the kind of drivel that I'm sure you'll admit that a lot of the papers, including yours, report, then is it any wonder we are basically living in anarchy? And that is the world that you're creating for yourself as well as me. And that is what has got me headed up and, yes, aggressive. And that is perfect. And that is in response to that last bit, which you missed out. Did you not miss out in your catalogue of what happened about your responding about why you might not be interested? Why bother mentioning that? Let that go to your colleagues. I don't have to be distressed. They can respond, and if I have a beef with them about it, then I can take it up with them. Why put your oar in at all if you're not even part of the Newsdesk establishment? Why bother giving me their address if you don't think they can help in the first place? Do you see that's what's got me upset? That is the true representation, and you represent all the journalists, because I shouldn't even be talking to you, should I? I should have some interest, because it's even a criminal offence to be making these kind of allegations without substance, especially as I make them under oath and in sworn proceedings. And that should be the interest of the BBC or Bristol Post or ITV. They're not interested. You've understood that so far, which is where the little people come in, or the smaller journalist organisations, because they can take up the big scoops that establishment don't. It's because everybody is in cahoots together, and those kind of scandals that I've just itemised run rampant, and we're all guilty of it. That's the point. We're all guilty of turning a blind eye to some extent. I live in Eastville in Bristol.
I was very much looking forward when this conversation is on YouTube to listening to the point where I put you off, because that's not what I believe.
But why did you tell me why you mentioned it? What relevance? What relevant? What? Having not seen any evidence of what you're talking about, I've just given you. I've directed you to my. I've directed. You could have looked at it twice over now. It's on. It's visual. I've got hard. Sorry. Well, I said I just wanted to get that bit out. Yeah. That's your response. But I'm happy to. I'm happy to. You've got no obligation to stay on the phone to me at all. You can delete my number or put me on voicemail. That's up to you. But I'm happy to hear if you want to still, if you want to, before it goes online. I'm happy to hear what relevance. Why did you mention you might not be able to help me? Is there anything that you would be able to help with?
So, and I have to manage expectations, and I get a lot of people calling up telling me that they've got important stories. I'm not trying to judge, because I'm not in the business of judging which stories should make it and should deserve to make it, because as a managing director, I should not have that influence over the journalists who write for.
But you shouldn't be putting me. You shouldn't. Are you encouraging me to contact you or not? But why be negative? Are you encouraging me or discouraging me? But if I do, so if I do have evidence to support it that you're not, you said that you haven't looked at, but I've invited you to look at it online on my YouTube channel. You don't want to. You invite me to put it to your colleagues. If your colleagues don't take an interest, are they not taking an interest because does that make them in cahoots? If there is evidence of the violence and the criminality I'm talking about that can be proven, does that not then make them in cahoots with the other journalists I'm complaining about who are also covering it up because they're scared of the big judges in court? No, that's all right. You can cut me. Yeah, I mean, you didn't. I'm surprised you answered at all. I'm surprised you answered at all. Yeah, we can talk over each other now all day long. All day long, I can do that. That's really sensible. There's lots of light, and then you talk about being aggressive. Listen to you. You can hang up at any time. I'm not forcing you to remain on this phone to talk over me or to not respond. You could have responded to my question 3 times by now, but instead you're still on the line. You'd rather be talking over me instead. Yeah, so by all means respond. By all means respond.